Hey guys, I want to come on here and do a review of 90 Day Fiance The Other Way. This is season 1, episode 18. And this one starts with Karine and Paul. And as you guys know, who have been following and watching the show, Karine and Paul have a lot of arguments and a lot of dysfunction. And they were on actual other episodes of 90 Day Fiance. They were on the 90 Day Fiance before the 90 Days franchise. And so they're not new to the show, but what is new is the baby that they just had. And so Karine had her baby, and she takes him home for the hospital. Now, Paul is still happy, although Karine initially didn't want him there. She told him he couldn't be in the hospital. She told him to go get a whole bunch of products that she needed, but that he needed to leave because they had another argument that day prior. Paul is a little weak thing too, though. But they take the baby home from the hospital. In all honesty, the baby is cute. I think it looks more like Paul, but it does look like Karine because he has full lips. Good for Karine because she lost the first baby that she had. And so good for her that she had her little boy. But Karine had again asked for a divorce, which she has done multiple different times, yet they're still together and still having to talk through a translation app because Paul hasn't learned the language. I guess the baby will just have to be bilingual at the end of the day. But Karine is happy that her baby is healthy, and she told Paul she just wants them to stay in a peaceful, functional relationship. Now, Paul's mom is coming there to visit, although she doesn't fly a lot. She decides to hop on a plane and go to Brazil because her grandchild is being born. So at this point, while they're at the house, they're actually waiting for Paul's mom to come. And Paul lets Karine know that his mom is on the way and he'll go down and let her up. Now, Karine says that she's worried about meeting Paul's mom because she knows that Paul said a lot of unfavorable things about her, which he does. If you guys have been following the other franchises, and you know, when Paul was on 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days, he said several inappropriate, very negative things about Karine. He even suggested she had a child, the last baby that she lost, by someone else. And he said this on the reunion show. And I have a problem with people outing their partners on national television. I think he should reserve certain things for private. He shouldn't be saying them on television, but he said several negative things about Karine. So she does have a right to be apprehensive about meeting his mother. But fortunately for her, when the mother comes in, she's actually very nice. She tells Karine how beautiful she is, how nicely done her makeup is. My problem was is that when she went to go touch that baby, she didn't wash her hands. Mind you, she had just got off a flight out of a full airport with a whole bunch of people. She got out of a taxi. She went and put on a bunch of bug repellent spray, as you heard her talking with Paul about. But then she goes in there, don't wash her hands, and touch the baby's face. And then she does a little poverty shaming as well and talk about how dirty and basically ghetto the neighborhood that the Karine and them lived in. And this is the problem that I have with Americans, because what they don't know is that Americans have their privilege at the expense of those places and people in countries like Brazil and Africa. And they will go talk about the deplorable conditions that they're living in, India as well. But what they don't understand is that America cannot be what it is, and you can live in your cushy apartments with your computers and all of your nice hot flowing water and your water heaters. We're having all of this at the expense of those people who live in those countries, because they have a bountiful amount of natural resources that we need. We wouldn't have cell phones, computers, cameras. None of this would exist if it wasn't for those people in those third world countries. Yet you have Americans going on their poverty chain. But in any event, Karine meets Paul's mom, and again, it's a happy union, and hopefully Paul will learn the language so he doesn't have to keep using that app. But Paul's overall goal is to get Karine and his baby to the States. And hopefully he's able to do that so that the baby can have a better life. And I think he'll be able to, because now that the baby is there, they're going to get married, they'll be able to actually move back to the States. But moving right along, Laura and Aladdin. And I know his name is spelled Aladdin, but whatever, Aladdin. Laura is another person who irritates me because she lies too much. Just in the last episode, she was talking about how she's going to get rid of some sex toy if Aladdin ups his game sexually, and then she said she was lying about it. She literally sat there and said she has no problem lying. I'm tired of these older, haggard, no option having women going after these younger foreign men and then lying. But in any event, the wedding is set to start. They have a series of days with their wedding. It's like an event. And the first night is the night of partying out in the streets. So it's supposed to start, and Laura goes to check on her son, Liam, who had just gotten there. Now, Liam doesn't approve of the marriage, but he did go down to Tunisia, which is where they're having the wedding at. They went to Tunisia so that he can support his mom, even though he feels like she's making a bad decision, but because she asked him to come, he decides to go. He mentions how he won't be able to attend the first night of the wedding because he's tired. Now, he just got done traveling from the States to Africa, and anybody who's traveled to Africa, then you know it is a very long flight, 30 hours, sometimes more. But he's saying that he's tired, which is very legitimate. Laura doesn't believe it, so she keeps asking him, are you sure that's the reason? Are you sure it's not another reason why you're not attending? So he decides to open up to her and say he doesn't like her relationship, and he thinks she's making the same mistake she's been making, which is choosing toxic relationships with bad men. And that's how she sees her relationship with Aladdin. He also says he feels like Aladdin is controlling, and he wants her to end a relationship because he doesn't see it working out. Laura leaves in tears. There's so many tears going on, but the tears are not stopping her from lying. Tears and secrets are the themes of these shows. But Laura leaves out crying, saying that her son isn't giving Aladdin a chance and that he judged him before even meeting him, which I'm sure he did. She goes to the wedding unhappy because Liam won't attend. Meanwhile, Aladdin is over there turning up in the street. And he said that the party is his favorite part of the wedding because he just gets to party all night. But Laura is sitting in another room putting on makeup as if it's going to do anything about her haggard look. And she tells Aladdin that Liam isn't coming because he doesn't approve of the relationship. Now, I don't know why she picks this time to tell Aladdin that, but tell him that later. Aladdin, though, isn't having it, and he tells Laura to just get ready because the family is waiting for her, and that he feels like Liam has been emotional, acting like a child, and making the situation about him when it's really not. So they keep going on with the discussion, and Laura gets into this little pity party and says, oh, don't attack her and make her feel bad for it. And that she wants Aladdin to just talk to Liam, and Liam agrees and says, okay, well, whatever, get in and get ready. So she puts on her Tunisian attire and goes to party with Aladdin. And look, my thing of it is with Laura is that apparently you can just look at the dynamic of it. These men are not into these women. They simply want a ticket to America. I do really believe that. I don't believe that there's any love there. I think for the women, they don't have many options in America, so they choose a foreign person that they think that they can control with citizenship. And they know that a lot of these people do want to get out of their countries and come to America, so they use that as a way to manipulate them because they can't do it with the same with the men in their country. But in any event, moving on to Evelyn and Corey. Now, Corey is back in Washington because his father died. Apparently, Corey's father was having some struggles with his pancreas, and ultimately it led to his death. So sadly, he died. Corey went back to be with his family and to comfort his mother mostly. Now, he's talking to his mother about his dad's death, and he said although he wants to be there, he's also torn between staying to support his mom emotionally or going back to Ecuador because his visa was to expire in a month, and he wanted to make sure that Evelyn was ready to get married, and he still needed to decide if he wanted to get married too. Corey says that he thinks that Evelyn is, although Evelyn already told her friends that she's not interested in marrying Corey. Clearly he missed that memo. But he says he doesn't want to pressure her into making a decision. So he says he doesn't have that much time to decide. Now, he ultimately says that he's going to go back because he doesn't have a lot of time and he just wants to make sure. But I'm going to give you guys a little spoiler alert. I don't think that Corey and Evelyn are still together. Not because of what Evelyn said. It's because I lived in Washington. My best friend still lives in Washington, and she actually saw Corey at a bar. He was not with Evelyn. So I don't think that Corey and Evelyn worked out. I think that Evelyn had to have told him that she's not interested in marrying him. So therefore, he either stayed in Washington or he went back to Ecuador, found out where Evelyn stood, and then went back to Washington. But in any event, when my best friend said she saw him, she did not see him with Evelyn. You guys can speculate and take what you want from that, but I don't think that they worked out. And I didn't think that they would from watching the very first few episodes, because again, Evelyn already said to her friends that she wasn't interested in marrying Corey. But in any event, moving right along to Ronald and Tiffany. Tiffany is pregnant, but she's tired of Ronald's gambling addiction. They've been having a lot of arguments and a lot of dysfunction, and Tiffany is yet another woman who brought her child into a dysfunctional relationship with the man that she does not know, because her son was out there in South Africa with her. Now, they had a huge fight in the past, but she's excited because she's pregnant and she's planning the birth with Ronald. Ideally, Tiffany doesn't have any insurance in South Africa. And she said that if you don't have insurance or the money to pay for a private hospital, you have to go to a public government hospital. So they decide to go take a tour of one, and they come to find out that not only is it small, but it has a reputation for having lax care and being unsanitary. They literally have a worker there in the hospital giving them a tour, and they see that the hospital rooms are not closed, there's no privacy. And the tour guide also tells them that sometimes they have an overflow, so beds aren't guaranteed, and some women even have to sleep on the floor. Now, I want you guys to think about who South Africa is controlled by. And it's not controlled by the natives, by the way. So it raises the question of, if you're going to go into South Africa and try to claim it as yours, the least you can do is put the money into having the hospitals being suitable for people giving birth to children. She said they have upwards of nearly 30 to 40 babies being born on a daily basis. So after seeing the hospital, Tiffany decides that she can't have her baby there. I don't blame her. I wouldn't either, especially considering she's used to American hospitals, which have a higher standard and a very different way of birthing children. It's just different. And it's a lot better. But the problem is that Tiffany doesn't want to spend all of her money on it. And she realizes that she will have to come out of her pocket, because putting the burden of getting the money to go to a private hospital might be enough to trigger Ronald back into his addiction, although he tells her, don't worry about it, I'll get the money, I'll make sure you have it so that we can do it at a private hospital. But again, Tiffany's main concern is that this is going to cause Ronald to relapse, because where is he going to get the money from? Now, Tiffany has money, so ultimately she'll probably end up paying for it. I personally think that she should. It might be a good idea, rather than risking him going back to his addiction, just so that he can pay for a private hospital. Because with the government hospitals, they also, because of the size of them and the limited resources, they also don't allow the man to be there. And rightfully so, Tiffany wants her man to be there, but we'll see how that turns out. Ronald says he's going to get the money, but Tiffany's concerns are valid. But Jenny and Sumit. Now, Jenny just had the shock of her life because Sumit was married. In India, they have arranged marriages, and he was put in an arranged marriage with a woman that he says he no longer wants to be with. Jenny is sitting on the bed. The producer said after finding out what happened, they immediately flew out to India so they capture Jenny's account of what happened. So she's sitting on the bed, and she said that Sumit had just got home when his phone started going off. He told her to lock the door, and someone came back and knocked on the door. So she opened a door, and a man was there, and he basically was there with Sumit. Now, this man was his father-in-law. And it was also, the man was also the father of the woman that he's married to, which he said he was married to. Now, Jenny doesn't know that he was married, and she said she didn't know how to react. I can imagine for her, let me tell you, I'd be pissed, okay? So I'm all sympathetic with Jenny, although she looks like the crypt keeper, moving right along, though. Now, she doesn't understand how Sumit got married while talking to her and telling her that he loves her, okay? Now, she needs, like, really, that needs to not be your rationale, because that happens all the time. But the father-in-law basically said that the whole entire family was coming because they wanted to meet her. Because again, she's the woman that Summit is ultimately cheating on his daughter with. So both sides have a right to be mad, truth be told. Summit was ultimately lying to her. When she went to the living room, she said she saw all of Summit's family. The wife is mad, so she breaks something. Summit's about to get into a fight with somebody. Jenny says she's obviously scared because she didn't know how to help him, and they ultimately took Summit after threatening to put both of them in jail. She said the mom was very mean to her, and now she doesn't know what to do because she doesn't know how to help him. She shouldn't be concerned with helping him at this point. She should be concerned with helping herself. Now, Jenny sits here and she's broken. She's literally breaking down. And again, I'm sympathetic to her because she says that she's scared. She's in India. She doesn't know Indian laws. They took Summit. They're talking about prosecuting them because adultery is a crime in India. You cannot be cheating. It used to be a crime in the States, but it no longer is. But however, it still is one in India, and it's punishable to both people. This is why Jenny says she's scared, because she doesn't know whether to go back. She doesn't know if they're going to come for her. She doesn't know anything. But the next morning, she goes to an internet cafe to video call her daughter and tell her that Summit is married and that he has been for 2 years due to an arranged marriage that he supposedly didn't want to be in. Now, with arranged marriages, okay, you have to assume that some of them probably don't want to be in it. They don't have a choice. It's an arranged marriage. But he's been married for 2 years, meaning the time that she's been talking to him and the time that he's been married has overlapped. So she explains the entire situation to her daughter, who then tells her that the only person she needs to be mad at is Summit because he put her in that situation, and that she needs to leave India. She needs to throw Summit away and get her an American man who's not going to lie and be married, okay? And I feel her. Jenny sits here and she's contemplating about it, but at the end of the day, we know Jenny ain't going nowhere because she's one of those women who don't got no options either. Let's just be real. These are not the best looking women in this situation. So just by virtue of them going to someone foreign and out of the country and how expensive it is and the toll it takes on a relationship, you can surmise that they don't have a lot of options, given also their age and the fact that they're going after younger men. But they showed a sneak peek of the next episode, and it looks like Summit is going to be sneaking out to go talk to Jenny. He says that he would rather be in prison than be in the marriage that he's in. So we'll see how that works out. I'll keep you guys updated, and I will be back for the next episode. But that was the review for 90 Day Fiance The Other Way, Season 1, Episode 18. Let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.